NetsBoy, so let's hear what he has to say. His name is NetsBoy, he thinks the world is all over when the Nets just can't play. What up, Net fans? NetsBoy here, bringing your latest in your Brooklyn Nets news. Let's go. Let's dive right in. It's been about a couple weeks since my last NetsBoy episode. Free agency is in full swing. Actually, it's probably tapered down a little bit as most of the major free agents have been signed. But the Nets made some moves and signed some free agents and traded some players, and that's what this episode's going to be about, those moves and trades. Let's just dive right in with the big move. Now, the first thing that the Nets did, let's start at the beginning. The first really big thing the Nets did was they did bring back Joe Harris. They signed Joe Harris to a 2-year deal worth $16 million, so $8 million a year. Very fair contract, in my opinion, for what Joe Harris brought to the Nets. I'm very pleased with the Nets and that deal. They brought him back. I think that's a good move. And I think Joe Harris is going to really have another good year with the Nets, being the same type of player he's been. So very pleased with that move. Then they also brought in and signed Ed Davis to, I think, a 1-year, $4-point-something million contract. Great move again. Ed Davis he's just a solid big. He's a solid rotational NBA big. You know, he's a good rebounder. Really, he's not much on the offensive end, but he's very athletic. He's more of a power forward than a center, but I'm pretty sure he's going to be considered the backup center for the Nets now, playing behind Jarrett Allen. I think that's a great pickup. He's a really solid player, and I don't think he's going to disappoint. I think he's going to dive right in and really be a factor for this Nets team that struggled on the boards. And I've said this before, the Nets kind of needed a big that can play with Jarrett Allen. Well, Ed Davis can. You could go and put those two guys up in the front court if you needed to, if you're the Nets. Though offensively, you're probably going to have a pretty rough team, but the Nets can still do that. So, great signing there, bringing back Joe Harris and signing Ed Davis. Then, a couple weeks after that, came the big news. First, before I get into the big news, a side note: Brook Lopez did sign with the Milwaukee Bucks. So he did not come back to the Nets. Though I'm not gonna lie, they signed him to a veterans minimum contract. The Bucks, it was like $3-point-something million or something like that. Are you kidding me? That's disrespectful, Brook. And look, obviously the Nets wanted to move on from Brook Lopez. They probably thought that Brook was too good of a player. It would take too much away from Jarrett Allen. But I said before my last NetsBoy episode, I thought Brook Lopez could play with Jarrett Allen at times and be a 25-minute-a-game player and be very productive, and I would love to see him back, especially for that contract. $3-point-something million? That's what they gave more to Ed Davis. Brook. I mean, I guess Brook Lopez is trying to bank on having a great year because it's a 1-year deal. But, geez, if I was Sean Marks, I was going to say Kenny Atkinson for a second. He'd probably like him too. But if I was Sean Marks, I would have brought back Lopez for like $3.4 million for 1 year to mentor Jarrett Allen, play about 25 minutes a game, mentor Jarrett Allen, maybe see if he can work alongside him. And if he doesn't, trade him away. How funny would that have been if they kept Lopez, they brought him back, and then they decided to trade him around the trade deadline? But either way, you know what I mean? Why not bring in a little bit better of a player? But I guess the idea is, Brook, that ship has sailed. Let's bring in another player who can try to prove themselves and doesn't need as many minutes as Lopez would, because Ed Davis is a guy you can play about 18 to 20 minutes a game as a backup, and he's going to be pretty content with that and put up solid numbers. So I get that. So Brook signed with the Bucks, and good luck to him over there. I guess I'm going to be going to some Nets-Bucks games now. Vince Carter hasn't signed yet. He's still a free agent. Haven't heard much from him, but we'll see. We'll find out later on. Anyway, so that all to the side. The next thing the Nets did was they did two separate when the Nets just can't trading Jeremy Lin. They traded Jeremy Lin to the Hawks for the rights to, I forget the French player's name. He's some player that's overseas. He's coming off of 2 knee surgeries. Honestly, a player that the Nets will probably never see. But they also got, I think, two second-round draft picks in the deal. It really was not much of a deal. It really was just kind of like, hey, here's Jeremy Lin. We don't need him anymore. here you go, Hawks, give us something. You have cap space. It was actually kind of just like the Hawks are like, we would like to have another point guard on this team, to play with Trae Young and Schroeder and things like that. So give us a player like Jeremy Lin on an expiring deal and see maybe he can help us. So very simple trade there. But the real reason why that trade was done was so the Nets could swing the move with the Nuggets. Now, obviously, the Nuggets wanted to get rid of contracts. Now, this is one of the more lopsided trades value-wise in a while, in my opinion. But it has nothing to do with the true value. It had to do with the Nuggets getting out of the luxury tax. So the Nuggets traded Kenneth Faried, Darrell Arthur, and a protected first-round draft pick, as well as a bunch of other extra, like, second-round draft picks with stipulations and things like that. I don't know. It's a lot of little draft picks and stuff thrown in with both deals for my boy Isaiah Whitehead. Well, that was short-lived. I mean, I'm bittersweet because I think Faried is a great player. He's on an expiring contract, so it's not going to affect the Nets in the 2019 free agency, where they're going to go after a lot of free agents. And he's a good rebounder. He's an energy guy. He really fits the mold of what the Nets need: defense and rebounding. He's from Newark, so he's from the tri-state area, and he's a good, solid player who I think is going to really make a huge impact on the Nets. And Arthur's a solid stretch four. Like, he's your traditional stretch four, and I think you're going to now see Quincy Acee not be re-signed by the Nets. I think they're going to let him go because, honestly, Darrell Arthur is like the same type of player as Quincy Acee, in my opinion. So I think you see that now. But the whole point of this move was to get another draft pick. Now the Nets are going to have 2 first-round draft picks in this next year's draft, as long as the Nuggets finish better than the 12th record or don't get the lottery, 12th worst record, which I think the Nuggets should be a playoff contending team next year in the West. If not, they should be around the 13th or 14th pick, which is why I think the Nets said protected from 1 through 12. But, I mean, that is great. Now, the Nets are going to have their own draft pick next year, as well as now the Nuggets protected draft pick. So they're going to have 2 first-round draft picks in a draft that's expected to be pretty weak. But either way, they have draft picks. I mean, that's just the true nature of it, and you never know what could happen with any of these players. And so that's why that trade happened. And they got rid of Whitehead. And look, Whitehead was expendable. He really was. I talked about it halfway through the season last year, how I thought the Nets were going to try to trade him because they weren't going to have a lot of use for him. He played well in the G League. But I guess it's a really simple thing. They're just kind of like, look, we need to give some kind of player to make the transaction complete. And Whitehead has a non-guaranteed contract. As a matter of fact, it sounds like the Nuggets are not going to keep Whitehead, and they're going to waive him, so he's going to be a free agent. We'll see what team he goes to. I have no idea. So it's kind of just like a really value-wise lopsided trade when you're trading just Isaiah Whitehead for Darrell Arthur, Kenneth Faried, a first-round draft pick, and a few other picks. Like, that's it. But it was done for salary purposes so the Nuggets could get out of those contracts. The Nets brought in those contracts. That's why they moved Jeremy Lin to bring in those players. If you really want to look at it as a whole, it was kind of like a 3-team trade, even though there was no other parts moving between the Nuggets and the Hawks. It was really the Nets did 2 separate deals, but both deals, I guarantee, were contingent on the other deal going through, which it happened. So I think that's what you saw, and I think it's a good move. I mean, the Nets had a logjam with the guards. I'm upset that Whitehead got traded, but at the same time, I understand it, and we'll see. And but I think now it made it clear that the Nets are saying, hey, D'Angelo Russell and Spencer Dinwiddie, you're our point guards. You're starting point guard and backup point guard, as well as having Karis LeVert. And I think that's fine. And now you really solidified the front court. Remember, the Nets didn't have a lot of front court, but now they got Ed Davis, Kenneth Faried, Darrell Arthur, and Jarrett Allen. And they signed their 2 rookies, Musa and Krusnis, right? That's his name, right? No, Kurux. I don't know why I say Krusnis. Kurux and Musa, they signed those 2 guys as well. So the Nets have their 2 rookies signed. So the Nets actually almost have their roster set. Most recently now, the last thing the Nets did was they signed Shabazz Napier to a 2-year contract, one with a team option, I think this was just a move because the Nets once again said, okay, let's bring in a veteran point guard who could be our third string point guard if injuries occur. Because we all seen a million times how the Nets, especially in the point guard spot, deal with a lot of injuries. And since they got rid of both Lynn and Whitehead, they said, oh, geez, we only have two true point guards on our roster in Russell and Dinwiddie. And Russell is even argument as a combo guard. Yes, we can use Caris LeVert as our third string emergency point guard, but let's bring in one more guy who can be a point guard, and that's Shabazz Napier. Look, I'm indifferent by this move. This isn't a bad move. He's a guy who's really going to play only if there's injuries. I don't really see him being a major rotational player, but you never know, because about 3 years ago I said the same thing with Joe Harris. I said Joe Harris is a guy that Nets are just bringing in. He's not going to be a major rotational player. He's just a guy who gets an injury, and sure enough, he became one of the better players on the Nets, so you never know. But I think that's a solid move. Overall, now the Nets have 14 players under contract, with only I think now like $2 million left in cap space. I don't know if they're going to make another move. They probably are going to make another small move before the end of the offseason. Maybe bring in, I think they maybe one more, third string big or reserve big away from really solidifying the roster. Because right now, you look at the center spot, like I said, it's probably going to be Jared Allen and Ed Davis. But then who's your third string center? Is it going to be Kenneth Faried playing big? That's right now where I think they're at. I think they might bring in another player like Ed Davis to be another kind of rotational big. Maybe they will bring back Quincy Acey because he's still a free agent and the Nets really liked him, and maybe they'll bring him back. And he played some 5 last year, so maybe that's what they do. We'll see moving forward. But I really thought, you know what, the major moves are done, so let me hit with this NetsBoy episode. So, but overall, I'm pretty pleased. Like I said, I'm a little upset about the Nets losing Whitehead, and I'm a little upset that Brook Lopez didn't come back to the Nets and he went with the Bucks. But like I said, that was a fantasy to me. But I think the moves that Sean Marks made, once again, are very good. I think they really have solidified this team. I think it's a balanced team. And I think as long as people stay healthy, I think that this could be a very good team. But we'll see. So that's it. Keep your eyes open for the next NetsBoy episode. We'll see if the Nets make any other moves. If they make another major move, which I don't think they will, I'll probably have another NetsBoy episode in the next couple weeks right after that. If not, I probably won't have another NetsBoy episode until right around preseason when the roster is final and preseason games start and I can see the Nets and I start saying, and I'll come up with my expectations for the year. So that's a ways away. So, but just keep your eyes open. Like I said, if there's any other news that pops up, I might pop up with a video. So until then, let me know what you guys think. Let me know how you feel about the moves. I will say this. I did want to leave on this note about the Jeremy Lin trade and the Isaiah Whitehead trade. I guess it's true that Sean Marks and the Nets now don't care about marketability. Because remember, everyone always talks about, marketability, the reason why you want to have players that bring crowds in, right? Who's going to bring the draw? Like, what's the draw to a Nets game? And I'm going to be honest, I don't know if there's really much of a draw to Nets games now because the Nets had 2 really good marketable tactics. The biggest one, obviously, was Jeremy Lin. He is a very popular figure in sports, and he's a very popular figurehead, and there's a lot of huge Jeremy Lin fans. And he brought a crowd. He brought some fans. Even though he didn't play, he is capable of that. So they got rid of him. And then they got rid of Isaiah Whitehead, who was the only Brooklyn-born player to play for the Nets since they've been in existence for like 6 years now. So you got rid of your 2 draws that you could have marketed. You got rid of the, Asian American, star player that a lot of people love and back in Linsanity, a huge marketing draw. And then you got rid of the Brooklyn-born player playing for Brooklyn. So you got rid of your 2 marketing tactics for what? And I'm not saying this is it's bad at all. I think basketball-wise, these are good moves. It's marketing-wise, business-wise, it's kind of like, wow, I guess that's just going to bank on trying to, really focusing on basketball. I'm not going to focus on the rest of the fluff of, marketing and business, which I really respect. So, we'll see. I think this team is all about now D'Angelo Russell and Jared Allen and Caris LeVert. Those are the players it's all about. I really think they think very highly of all 3 of those guys. Obviously, they think pretty well of Rondae Hollis-Jefferson, but I think those 3 guys in particular, Russell, LeVert, and Allen, are the 3 focal pieces. And I think that's going to be the excitement that Net fans are going to have is let's see how these three players develop, especially LeVert. LeVert and Russell, this is the year for those two guys to really take their game to the next level. LeVert going in his third season, Russell going into his fourth. This is when we want to see pretty big growth, so we'll see. But I'll talk about that next episode in like a month or two when we talk about expectations. So, once again, let me know what you guys think about the moves the Nets made. Some players that you wish they could have gotten. What do you think is going to happen moving forward? If the Nets are going to make any other moves, let me know. But Jeremy Lin and Isaiah Whitehead, good luck to you on your tails and the rest of your career. Might be short-lived for both you guys as a Net, but still, in my opinion, two favorable Nets and with respect. So until next time, this is NetsBoy, signing off.